Hello everyone. Chapter 5 is all about functions, and we're going to see many examples, very interesting examples about how to write user-defined functions. So far, we use many built-in functions, but in this chapter, we are going to learn how to create a function ourselves and use it. Okay, so far I've learned many fundamental features of Python. For instance, variables, expressions, control structures such as if-else, loops, and stuff like that. We also use many built-in functions in Python, such as input, print, format, range function, len, and so on and so forth. And also, we also talked about sequences such as list, tuple, string. So, if you know all of these concepts and all of these features of Python very well, you should be able to write any programs, okay? You don't need to know anything else to be able to write any problem that is given to you, right? But there are other stuff that will help you to write better programs. And one of those fundamental features is functions, right? So in general, like if you are going to work as a software developer, very easily your programs becomes very complex. Okay, so and then as an example, just think about smartphones have millions and millions of lines of code in them to make them working, right? And just imagine how complex those codes could be if they're just in one piece. All right? Like imagine like having tens of millions of lines of code, right? To prevent that complexity or make it a bit simpler, make it to in a way that you can troubleshoot different problems and things like that, we break the problem, break the our code or break out the problem to small pieces, all right, to make them manageable, to make them much simpler, right? And then each part are going to take care of one simple task for us, and we use a combination of all of those pieces to get to the functionality that we are looking for. Okay, and we call those manageable pieces routines, right, in programming word. So basically, doing so is a form of abstraction in which a more general, less detailed view of a system can be achieved. All right. Another benefit of functions, apart from making your code manageable, making it simpler, is code reuse, right? And we saw example of that using built-in functions in Python. For instance, if you want to print something, the print function itself has like many lines of code that makes it working, all right? You just call that function as many times as you want, right? There's no limit to how many times you can call a function. So you can reuse certain instructions, right, that are part of a function and just use them over and over again. So basically, routines are a fundamental building block in software development, okay? And today we are going to learn how to create user-defined functions. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about program routines, and then we are going to look at program routines in Python, which we call functions, and then we are going to just go back into some of the built-in functions in Python, and then we are going to start writing our own functions. So simply, a routine is a named group of instructions performing some task. A routine can be invoked or called as many times as needed in a given program. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you have a built-in function or user-defined function, right? If you have a function, you can call it as many times as you want, or you can invoke it as many times as necessary. Here's an example of that. Let's say this is your code. So you have like lines of codes here, and then you get to and you want to use certain instruction. Okay, so you basically you're going to repeat those 10 lines of instructions over and over in your program. So you create your routine. All right, so you create a routine with those instructions, and whenever you need to get and have those instructions to be executed in your program, you simply call that routine. All right, so you start your code here, and then you need those instructions, you call the routine. So you go to that routine, follow the instructions. Whenever done, you come back wherever you left. All right, you follow with your code, you call the routine, go to it, follow the instructions, come back. All right, and so on and so forth. All right, similar, like let's change like the this a with print function, for instance, which is a built-in function. So whenever you need to call print function, you just simply say print, blah blah blah. Okay. So in Python, what happens is it goes to that routine, to that function, follow the instructions for print, and then you display something on the screen. Okay, so it follows some instruction. There are like many lines of code in that print function. So, but whenever you want, you can call it, all right? You can reuse it, and it makes your code less complex because you're not putting all of those, let's say has like 50 lines of code. You don't need to put those 50 lines of code here to just print a simple thing for you over and over. Okay, it just makes your code very complex, and hard to read, right? So you can like make it make pieces of your code and just combine those pieces to make it manageable, make it simple, and whenever you want, you can call those pieces that you created and have one code. So the way to define a function is we are going to have function header, all right? And that starts with the keyword def, DEF, right? If followed by an identifier, which is the name of your function. You can give whatever name you want to your functions, all right? And then you follow the function name with a comma separated, or it could be empty, list of identifiers or names of your parameters. Okay, so if you have three parameters in this example that I have here, you will have three identifiers, all right, and those identifiers are separated by comma. All right, and then after you're done with the header, you will end it with a colon, and then inside for the body of the function, you will make sure you have indentation, which is again significant in Python. That means those lines are part of that function. All right, and then which is called suit or function body, and you will put the instructions there.